Hey guys, welcome back to A Little Less Lisa. If you are new here, my name is Lisa and I am currently on a health, wellness, fitness, weight loss, you name it, that kind of journey. So if that is something that sounds interesting to you, I would love it if you would join me here. Click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when I upload videos. Generally about 2 times a week, I do a weekly update video on how my week went, whether I lost weight, gained weight, maintained, that kind of thing. And then the other video, which is this one, is just kind of on general topics. Usually, sometimes they are as a result of comments that some of you may leave, which is what this particular video is going to be about. And, sometimes it's just, my take on best practices, what not to do, what worked for me, that kind of thing. So like I said, come join us here if that sounds interesting. So as I mentioned, today's video is actually based on a viewer comment when I was talking about maintenance and going into maintenance, and then I kind of backed off of maintenance because I didn't really feel like I was ready to go into maintenance. So yeah, we're just going to talk about why maintenance can be so scary and just a little intimidating. So for those of you, again, who may be new, I have lost about 50 pounds or so, and I did that through diet, exercise, and the help of a GLP-1 medication. Specifically, I take compounded tirzepatide. I use the telehealth company Fridays Health, or joinfridays.com is the website. If you're interested, if you're looking for a telehealth company, there's always details about them in the description box below. But that's not what this video is about. I just wanted to give you a background if you're new as to how I lost my weight. And one of the 3 reasons that I'm going to talk about as it relates to maintenance kind of has to do with taking a GLP-1 medication. But I want to talk about the 3 reasons why I think maintenance can be really scary, especially after taking a GLP-1 medication. And not because the GLP-1 medication makes maintenance scary. I think it's just, I don't know. I just think it kind of as a result of it. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's get into the first reason why I think maintenance is scary. And that's because for most of us, we've never been successful in maintenance, right? I think probably the majority of us who have struggled with our weight for a long time will say we've lost the same X number of pounds over and over and over, right? Insert whatever number you want, whether it's 20, whether it's 50, whether it's 100, whatever that number is. I think we all, like I said, have that phrase that we could utter, right? Oh my gosh, I have lost the same 50 pounds 5 times over the last 20 years, whatever it is. And because of that, I think maintenance, especially coming off of a GLP-1 medication where we were probably pretty successful and saw some really great results, I think then makes it even scarier. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I started taking a GLP-1 medication, I didn't know if it was going to work. Because yes, while I had lost weight successfully many times over, the course of my 57 years. Of course, I wasn't dieting all 57 years, but you know what I mean. And while I was successful, I had really struggled with it over the last 5-6 years or so. And I had some success in 2020. That's when I was in perimenopause. So I had been at a pretty stable weight until about 2018 when I started gaining weight into 2019. And then, like I said, in 2020, I actually did the opposite of what a lot of people did in the pandemic. I actually was successful in losing some of that weight. And I did that basically through diet and exercise. But it was hard, right? It took me, probably a good 8 months or so, and I lost, I think, around 40 pounds, maybe somewhere around that. And so it took me quite a while, and I was watching every single bite that went into my mouth and tracked everything, etc. And then menopause hit, and I gained all of that weight back, and then struggled to try to get it off. I would try many different things, and I just was not successful. I mean, I could literally eat the same amount of calories that I am eating right now when not on a GLP-1 medication and not lose anything. And so it really showed me that yes, my body is insulin resistant, and I have a metabolic disorder, especially I think as a result of menopause. So because of that, and because, like I said, I had been struggling for several years trying to lose this weight again, I didn't really know whether this whole GLP-1 thing would work for me because, there are people that are non-responders. It's not, it isn't a magic pill from the standpoint of it just works for everybody. And, there's lots of things that play into your own individual body and the way they respond to things, etc. And so I didn't start my channel until 5 weeks into my GLP-1 journey because I just didn't really know if it was going to be successful. And frankly, I was afraid to put out there into the internet that I was starting this. And if it didn't work, I didn't want to look like, I don't want to say a failure. It would have been a failure in my mind. But again, it was all new to me. And yes, I had seen all of these amazing success stories online and on YouTube, but I just didn't know whether it would work for me. And so because of that, I think that heightens your fear then of going into maintenance. So, we've already struggled with maintenance for our entire lives, or however long you've been struggling with your weight, right? Because you keep losing and gaining those same pounds over and over again. In addition to that, some of the early studies coming out of the GLP-1 medications where people just literally went cold turkey off the medication, right? The original studies, a lot of those people gained quite a bit of that weight back. So there is this just innate fear, I think, that we have as people who have chronic weight problems to worry it's just going to happen all over again. So I think, like I said, for a lot of us, fear number one of just not having had success in the past is just deeply rooted within our brain of, is it going to work in the future? All right, before I get into reason number 2 that I think maintenance is scary, I keep forgetting when I'm wearing a new crown to talk to you guys about it because some of you have shown interest in it and I am going to do a full video. I don't know if I will do it on this channel or my other channel, but I will go through a lot of the different crowns that I have. But anyway, I have had significant hair loss as a result of rapid weight loss. It has nothing to do with the medication. It just has to do with the fact that my body is in shock that I just dropped 50 pounds in about, 18, 20 weeks or so. So I have taken to wearing crowns, also known as wigs, but, kind of like on my other channel where we call bags that have been owned by somebody else, we call them pre-loved as opposed to used. We call them pre-loved. We're calling wigs crowns now because we're all queens when we wear them. But anyway, this one is new. It is called Ruby. I think the color is chocolate ganache, which, probably makes a lot of sense if you can kind of see the coloring here. It's got a little bit of kind of more of a milk chocolate kind of highlighting in the front here, but then it goes into obviously a deeper chocolate in the back. So really, really pretty, super, super easy crown. It's got these kind of curtain bangs right here, which is nice because they frame the face. But anyway, so this is one I actually just got. So I just thought I would wear her today. I get them through a company called Chelsea Smith Crowns. I will link it below for you, and I'll link to the specific one, although I'm not quite sure that this is in stock anymore. I think it might be sold out. But the rubies are a great collection. So if you're like a blonde or something, and maybe there'll be another version of a ruby that you might like. Anyway, okay, let's go back to the reasons why maintenance is scary. And this was really the one that my subscriber or viewer mentioned in her comment, and that was adding back in calories is really scary. And I can definitely attest to that fear, right? Because we're so accustomed to staying in a calorie deficit, making sure you're in a calorie deficit, and really, focusing on that number and staying below it so that our bodies, through physics, can let that excess weight go. We can lose that excess weight. And so again, it's so contradictory in our brains to add calories. I think a lot of people go through this when they're doing that like reverse diet thing. I know that this was a big thing probably a few years ago, where people had felt that they've really wreaked havoc on their metabolism through chronic dieting. And so in order to sort of reset their metabolism, they would work with a dietitian to basically reverse diet, which is just increasing your calories and increasing your calories. And then, yes, probably gaining weight, but getting your body to a point where it's maybe metabolically corrected, where your body doesn't think it's in starvation mode kind of anymore. And then you start decreasing your calories again to try to lose weight, but doing it in a probably healthier and slower manner. So this idea of, especially if you've heard of that and I've watched several YouTubers, like I said, back probably in the 2020, 2021 timeframe, who were going through this process. And they 100% gain weight as they were adding back in calories, right? Because their bodies were so used to existing on this super low calorie diet that this person had been on, and their metabolism had essentially shut down, that this concept of adding back in calories, you just immediately think, I'm just going to start gaining weight. And like I said, I'm not going to lie, it is 100% a fear, and a fear that I can relate to. And so, what I told the subscriber is to do it really slowly, right? There's no rush to get up to whatever your, TDEE calculator tells you is like your maintenance calories. So for me, it's 1,600 some odd calories, something like that. So, maybe it'll be like 1,700 calories. There's no rush for me to get up to that calorie count, right? I don't have to go from, if I'm averaging 1,400 calories a day right now, I don't have to jump to 1,700 calories a day immediately. Maybe it's 50 calories a day extra that I start adding. And then the next week I add another 50. So now I'm eating 1,500 calories a day. And maybe next week then it's 1,550 a day. That kind of thing. There's no rush, and it allows your body to acclimate to that new calorie amount, and, should hopefully lessen the risk of you gaining weight. But like I said, it can be really scary to grasp that mentality of it's okay to eat more. And the final reason why I think that maintenance is scary is one that probably is unique to the GLP-1 medication journey that a lot of us are on, and that is that it is basically the Wild West out there. There have been no long-term studies on maintenance yet. Now, there are some coming out, but we haven't really heard what any kind of protocols are. Neither Eli Lilly nor Novo Nordisk has, published any instructions or any guidance on how to handle maintenance. So it's really up to you and working with your physician to figure out what's going to work for you. And so, in general, people will start stepping down in dose. So let's say, if you got up to 12.5 milligrams on your weight loss journey on tirzepatide or, Mounjaro or Zepbound, and now you've hit your goal and you want to move into maintenance, you'll probably move down to 10, and maybe you'll do that for a certain number of weeks, and then you'll move down to 7.5, and you kind of keep moving down until you find maybe a dose where you really start to hear that food noise coming back, or you start feeling really snacky, or a lot of, true kind of more ravenous hunger, right? Obviously, some hunger is important and you want to have hunger cues so that you remember to eat. But, I don't know that we want to go back to that sort of unfettered hunger that some people may have experienced before they went on this medication. There's that sort of trial and error of figuring out, okay, where is that line? Is 5.0 too low, but 7.5, seemed to be a pretty good dose? Were you maintaining? So maybe you go back. So like I said, it's a lot of trial and error. And then for those of us who are on a compounded version, it can be even a little bit more complex, but easier at the same time, because for those people who are on a branded medication, you only have the choice of 5.0 or 7.5, right? So maybe on 5.0, you are getting all that food noise back and your hunger has come back with a vengeance. But on 7.5, you're starting to lose again, right? So yes, you don't hear the food noise and your hunger is, fairly in check. So it's like you're caught between a rock and a hard place, right? Do you go to 5 where you're maintaining your weight, but yet now you're dealing with all of these negative things that most of us were so happy to be rid of with this medication, right? Meaning the food noise and that extreme hunger. Or do you go on 7.5 and now, you are losing again? And so it's harder to handle that, right? So maybe for those people who are on branded medication, maybe they have to take 7.5, but maybe they start spacing out their doses or something like that. Like I said, it's a little easier on the compounded, because if 7.5 is too much for me on compounded, I could back it down to 6.5, right? Or, for a lot of people that would be like 65 units as opposed to 75 units, or 62.5, right? Kind of split the dose between 5 and 7.5, something like that. So you have a little more control, which is one of the reasons why I really like compounded medication. And I have definitely done that throughout my journey, both when I was increasing and as I was coming back down. I do think for me, 5.0 is kind of the sweet spot, but we'll see. And then I can go from there, right? So far, I've seen some good success on just being kind of at that maintenance weight on the 5.0. But, I'm going to give it several more weeks and see how I do. And if I'm able to maintain, then yeah, maybe I will just stay with a weekly dose of 5.0 and all will be good just by virtue of increasing my calories. It kind of balances out being on the 5. I get the benefits of the 5 as far as like the food noise and less hunger, but I can eat more calories, so I'm not losing, I'm just maintaining. But my point is, it's all trial and error. There is no recipe to it. It's not like, okay, you go on a dose and you stay on it until you stop losing, and then you move up to the next dose and you stay on that for as long as possible while you're successful. And then if you stop losing and you've stalled for, whatever it is, 4 or 5 weeks, you move up in dose. There's no sort of absolute thing to do when you're trying to be in maintenance. So that, I think, to me is honestly the scariest part of maintenance right now, is just trying to figure out, okay, what is that happy medium, right? What is that Goldilocks dose where I keep that food noise and extreme hunger at bay, right? That sleeping dog remains sleeping, but yet I can maintain my weight. I'm not losing weight anymore. and I can do that, right? So it's finding that balance. Like, what is that dose that keeps us like this? So that, I think, can really be scary as well. So I hope this discussion about maintenance, you find helpful for those of you who maybe aren't in maintenance yet, but you're getting closer, to kind of start thinking about some of these things as you're approaching it, how you want to approach it. Like I said, maybe start planning for how are you going to increase your calories once you get to maintenance, trying to, really take into account your mental health when you're thinking about just, you can be successful in maintenance. I know we haven't really been successful in maintenance in the past, but past performance doesn't necessarily equate to future performance. So just again, and if you've got access to, some mental health options out there, I think it's great to kind of try to work through that with some kind of therapist or a group, or maybe it's with a family member or a friend who's been a great support to you during your journey. And then, like I said, really working with your provider. Again, have these conversations early with your provider as you are approaching maintenance so that you can have a plan in place. Okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to step back my dose? Are we just simply going to go based on dosage, or are we going to maybe extend time between? All those kind of things. You just try to start having those conversations early so that you don't get to your maintenance dose and all of a sudden you're like, well, what do I do now? Like, try to plan for it is my point. I'm really, really happy with where I am right now. And I think I said this in my last check-in video when I said I am in maintenance. Like, I feel good about it. I can tell a difference in my demeanor and in how I feel when I'm eating food and when I'm thinking about it. I'm in a totally different frame of mind. Like I said, I clearly was not ready to go into maintenance when I hit sort of my goal weight. And now that I am where I am, I just feel really comfortable in it. I feel comfortable in my skin. You'll hear about this more in my check-in video, but I really haven't been tracking things over the past probably 5 or 6 days. I haven't weighed myself since, my official weigh-in day. I'm not weighing myself daily, and I just feel really comfortable in this place. So I hope that once you all get to maintenance, that you can get to this place too, this kind of place of inner peace and being really okay with where you are, and then just focusing on, okay, now let's talk about the tactical things. How many calories am I going to increase to? What kind of dosage am I going to do? And yeah, that still may, like I said, yield some interesting results while playing back and forth with it. But I think when you're in a good mental space about being in maintenance, it makes all of the difference. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. And like I said, if you enjoy this kind of content, I would love it if you would join me here. So click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when I upload videos. If you have not had enough of me yet, there'll be another video over here for you to watch. And remember, kindness and hate spread the same. The choice is yours. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.